You put the left ear on, you put the right ear on, you put the left ear on, and you shake it all about.
So, is there a point where you just can't marry somebody because they just have too much debt? I mean, what is that number? Is it 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 60,000? When does somebody's debt become so overwhelming they're just not marriage material? Sometimes a couple will come to me and they'll want to buy a house, and one of the partners will have $3,000 to $5,000 of debt. Not a lot of debt, something that can be overcome in a short period of time. And the other partner will have 40, 50, $60,000 of debt. And I'm not talking cars or student loans. I'm talking that hardcore debt, that credit card debt, that installment loan debt, where they just went out and bought a bunch of stuff or spent a bunch of money on things that they just couldn't afford. And now they're bringing all that debt into the relationship. At the end of the day, that couple is going to struggle paying that one person's debt for many years. Maybe at some point there's a number where you just can't marry them because they just owe too much money.
Here is my thought as to the point where, to me, it would be too difficult to marry someone because of their debt. It's to the point where if I would have to take on more work at my age of 57 than what I'm already working. In other words, for me to help get us out of debt, my income that I'm making combined with his income is not enough. But instead, it would take his income, my income. I have to go out and shell out another job at another 15 to 20 hours a week. Now, if you're a young pup, you might be able to handle that. But the older you get, just the physical limitations, sheer exhaustion, it really has to be considered. It's not the debt so much, is what, between us, what resources do we have to get us out of debt based on our age, physical abilities, mental health, all of that wonderful stuff. So if it requires me to have to go and I have to get another 15-hour week job just to try to clear the debt that I would be marrying someone with, that is too difficult. On the other hand, the good news is if it doesn't require me to do any additional hours, okay, maybe tighten down the hatches on what we have. I can deal with that. Okay, a little less of this and a little less of that. But it doesn't require me to go out, work at Starbucks, pick up another job at Marshall's. Okay, that's where I would say no. But if it's just, hey, can we tighten up on eating out a little bit? Not that I eat out much anyways, but yeah, you follow me on this, right? If that's all it is, it's just simply tightening up our budgets and we realize, hey, we have the resources and we can make it. Or if he has to do the extra hours, if he's able to do that and he doesn't mind continuing doing that, and his working a few extra hours a week would clear the debt. That's really what it matters to me, is how much extra work at this age, at this juncture in my life, would I have to do to try to clear us out of debt. So yeah, depending, the older you get, it's something you have to look at. I mean, remember, if you've been following me, I used to have a $110,000 student loan until it was forgiven in 2022. I could not have blamed someone if they had said, Carrie, your student loan debt is just too high. You're bringing in too much debt. And for me to help you pay off this student loan, not only are you going to have to work an extra job, and I already do work a little extra side job with childcare. It's not a lot of hours, okay, but I do it. It goes, for an extra hour and a half at the end of the day on top of my teaching job. So it does matter. But if he would have to do more and I have to do more and we have to do all that just to try to keep up on the debt at this age, that would be very difficult for me physically. Now, cut my age in half, okay, sure, I can pick up an extra 15, 20 hours a week because I love you. I could not do that now even if I wanted to. I physically can't, and I just, exhaustion-wise, I couldn't do it. So that would be my issue. The other thing that he talked about also was, he was talking about the type of debt that people have, and he says the worst debt is the consumer debt. I agree and I disagree. Okay, I agree in the sense that, yeah, you tell me you have $100,000 in debt, and it's just in knickknacks at Marshalls and Ross and the mall. That's very concerning. versus say it's 100,000 as student loan because you were trying to build a career and get an education. But on the flip side, as you know, the problem is you can't go bankrupt on student loans. But if you're born again with I understand the error of my ways and my consumer debt, you can technically go bankrupt on the consumer debt stuff. But I do see his point as far as it's safer, so to speak, to marry someone who got into too much student loan debt. Now, hold on this here, okay? It doesn't mean I want to marry someone who has, $400,000 or $500,000 in student loan debt and we've got no way to pay it off. But for all intents purposes, I think you're following me. I see his point about he would rather see a student loan debt, a house, or something like that of value than just you ran up $100,000 buying knickknacks and holiday sale stuff that you didn't really need. But financially, it's those knickknacks and stuff that you can go bankrupt on. You can't do it on the student loan. So there you go.
How can you get married without being good financially? What puts a woman off is not necessarily the fact that you are broke or that you are not doing great financially. What puts her off is your attitude towards that. Are there gold diggers out there? Yes, of course there are gold diggers out there. But there are plenty of women who would genuinely consider a brother who might not have much to his name at this moment, but he has a can-do attitude. He's a hard worker. He's got that spice about him. He's got that X factor. She can tell this is a man who's one day he's going somewhere. And she'll marry that man. She'll absolutely marry him. Is security important? Yes. And this is what I'm saying. It's not necessarily about you being broke. It's about your attitude towards being broke, number one. And number two, what are you doing about it? What are you doing to rectify this situation right now? Are you working hard or are you chilling and just jamming at home? Your attitude towards the situation will dictate in large part how she reacts to you when you go to ask her for her hand.
He is very right in the sense that it has more to do with your attitude. I like to put the picture back so you see what I'm talking about, okay? He is right in that regards. Most women I know, and again, I'm 57, so I'm having to, that's the prism that I'm kind of looking at. But I can also see myself, obviously, in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, okay? That can-do attitude, that willingness to work to get out of debt, completely agree. And that will win. I would rather be with a guy like that, to be really honest, than someone who just feels really entitled and thinks everything should just kind of be handed to them. However, depending on one's age, you may be 60 years old and you have that come to Jesus, I'm born again financially moment, and you have that come do attitude, that that do attitude, okay, that work ethic that says, you know what, I don't have a dime saved. I'm 60 years old. I spent it all because I lived a YOLO life. You only live once life. And I decided that, I might pass away tomorrow and I'm just going to spend everything. Well, I'm 60, 61 now. I realize I'm still here and I'm feeling pretty healthy. So now I'm going to have a can-do attitude. I'm going to work till I'm 75, 80 years old to make up for what I should have done in my 40s and 50s. That's a great can-do attitude, but probably not one I would be interested in at this age. But if I were younger, again, so much of money, you guys, is related to your age. I know, but it really seems weird, but it's really not weird if you think about it, okay? A TikTok video, I can't remember which one it was that I did. I do so many of these videos, okay? But there was one TikTok that I did, and she was talking about the runway. The closer you get to retirement age, the shorter your runway gets. I don't have as long of a runway for a guy to be born again financially who finally decides at 60, 65 he's going to get his financial act together. I mean, it's congratulations. I'm glad he's seeing the light. Okay, but I probably don't want to hang out until you finally get it together at 80 years old. On the other hand, if you're younger and you can be with that guy with that can-do attitude and you have a choice, let's say you're 30 years old, and you have a choice between marrying the guy with a can-do attitude but maybe comes with a little bit of debt, that is manageable, okay? And you can work as a team to pay it off, and he's got that can-do attitude. This TikToker is right. More women would be likely, not all, but more likely to be interested in that because he's showing great potential and he's showing great responsibility. Okay? I would rather date and marry someone, because this is mostly about marriage, this particular TikTok episode, I would rather marry somebody with a can-do attitude at the appropriate stages in our life, because I know that they're willing to work. It's kind of like me with my student loan debt. I have a can-do attitude. But again, I could not have blamed somebody. And honestly, that was something I was afraid of, is that I would not be. I'll be honest, okay? And I've said it before. I was afraid I might not be seen as marriage material because I held such a huge student debt. Okay, $110,000. I mean, who wants to marry $110,000 of student debt that, I can't even pay it off? So I would have relied on him. And I could not have blamed him if he said, I love you, but I just can't do it. His can-do attitude just doesn't extend quite that far.
Your attitude towards the situation will dictate, in large part, how she reacts to you when you go to ask her for her hand.
Well, let's say in an event I couldn't afford no wedding like that.
And we wouldn't be getting married.
So that's what it's about.
That's
then.
exactly
It's about the money.
It's not about the money. It's about what I want, and what I want is.
But I thought what you wanted
wedding.
was me, though. I thought we was doing this for our love.
We
you
can
know
do
what I'm
that for
saying?
love. That's
See, I
nice.
just want to live like a normal, little, nice, little, happy, quiet life. But
That's
she want to
nice.
be all festive.
Yes, because I'm a festive
and try to
person,
keep up with
and
the
I like the
Joneses.
best.
Like that's not
I
what
don't
it's
even know
about.
the Joneses. I'm a festive person, and I like to have the best, and I deserve the best. And that's
That's
what you
social
said you was
media.
going to give me.
That's
So
social
then do
media
that.
stuff
Live
out
up
your
to
head,
your
must-
words. Stop being cheap.
That social media stuff
Live
out
up to
your
your
head
words.
must
Stop
up.
being cheap. I'm not getting married at no
I
club.
mean,
I'm
nothing
dying
cheap
to
about me, but I'm just
like,
saying.
That's like a joke right
it's,
now. You
we could be using
Say what
those
you want.
expenses for other stuff.
Okay.
I'm
You can
saying
make more money
to-
for other stuff after we get my wedding that I want. So don't ask me to
It
marry
is
you.
impossible.
Don't ask me to marry you at your in Oakwood house. Down in the
So do you want to marry me or you want to marry my wife?
Gentlemen of any age, this is a woman who wants to get married for the wedding, not for the marriage itself. If you find, first off, I was hoping this was a skit, but I don't think it's a skit. If it's a skit, let me know in the comments. I was going, please let this be a skit. I don't think it is. All right, but gentlemen, this is not the woman you want. No. The minute you see this type of, several issues. First off, listen to the way she talks to him. Okay, listen to that. Look at the selfishness in the words. I want my wedding. Like I said, she's in it for the wedding, not the marriage. Why would you want to tie yourself to a woman like this? This is not the type of woman you want. This is the type of woman that you go, I just basically was saved from getting into a really bad relationship. This attitude stinks really, really badly. And I have to be honest, I don't understand why men would even sit and argue with someone like this. This is not someone who's in the relationship for you. Remember, he said at the very end, are you marrying me or are you marrying my wallet? Obviously, she's married to the wallet. This is going to be the type of woman, and God help you if you do marry a woman like this with debt, she's going to have the kids, and then she's going to expect that you're going to be the one going out working 80 hours a week so she can stay home. Not that that financial arrangement does not work for some people. Granted, it does, and more power to you if it does. But if it's being done under this type of attitude, don't marry. Truly, I would really like to know, maybe some guys can leave something in the comment. Why are men attracted to women like this? I will never understand it. And the interesting thing is, when I was growing up, I know it's kind of aging me here because I'm a child of the 80s, I'm Gen X. When I was growing up, we didn't see attitudes like this. But part of the reason we didn't see attitudes like this is social media clearly did not exist. Okay, it didn't. All right, so we didn't see things like this. But I look at things like this, and my first thought is, why does a guy even want to argue with her? The relationship's over. You see this? This is a -10, and then some. Let her go. This is not the nah. This is a stinky, horrible attitude. Let her go. A woman talks to you like this, and she's willing to degrade you like this, and it's all about what's in your wallet. Why do you want it? But if some guy could explain to me why men fight for relationships like this, I would love to know, because I don't understand it.
I don't think people realize that if you propose to somebody and they say no, most of the time the relationship is over. You got about 30 minutes. Let me give you a little example. So a couple years ago, I had a homeboy that ends up proposing to his girlfriend of 5 years. Knew each other for 7 years, but of those 7 years, they were officially together for 7, right? They both shared similar interests, and they both had the same things that they wanted in life. Like, they both wanted to be married within 5 years. They both wanted kids. They both wanted to do things the right way, so they weren't moving in with each other, doing, the traditional route of marriage. So they're rocking and rolling in their relationship, right? So eventually, my homeboy, he starts to gear up to do the things that he's supposed to be doing to secure an engagement, right? So we're talking about getting to know the friends, getting to know the mom on a deeper level, flying to Vegas to meet the dad to get his approval to marry his daughter. So doing everything that a man should be doing before he proposes to a woman. Everything has been done, every I has been dotted, every T has been crossed. The mom knows an engagement is coming. The dad knows an engagement is coming. Everyone has given their blessings. So when the engagement comes, he gets down on his knee. She says no. Babe, what I'm telling you, I was flabbergasted when that woman told my friend no. When someone says no to an engagement, the relationship is over.
Okay. I love his style. Okay, especially the part about the 30 minutes. Yes, I agree completely. If somebody says, will you marry me? And the person says no, what are you sticking around for? Now, I'll tell you this. I've seen some YouTube videos where I guess the woman proposes to the guy. It'll be over my dead body before I ever propose to a man. That is an area I no. Men propose to women. Okay? Hey, just telling you how I feel about it. Men propose to women. Okay? So, fine. I mean, if you have a relationship where the woman wants to propose to the guy, go for it. Live your best life. Okay. In my little world, it will always be a guy that proposes. Okay. I'm not going to get down on one knee and ask anybody. That's not happening. All right. But if somebody, and this goes to you ladies, if a guy does propose to you and you do say no, I think the relationship is done. What's he supposed to stick around for? So that's kind of a good point.
So the other day I was talking about this woman who was disappointed that her long-term boyfriend, I think he was her man of like 6 years, had bought like all these things without buying a wedding ring. He had a tractor and a house and cars and a home and all that stuff. And I feel like, him not getting married is because he wants to always have full control and full access of all of the things that he has accumulated. And in the event of them breaking up, she'll have access to none of it. I talked about how women should really consider finances. So I just saw a story that perfectly explains what I'm talking about. So she was sharing her story about why she turned down a man's proposal. She talked about how this man had let her know after they've been dating for a while that he did intend to marry her. And he talked about all the things that he required. And she let him know. She was like, well, as a former military spouse who does receive a check every month, because of my late husband, for me and my child, I would require you to make up for that income. She said it's enough money to take care of herself fully. And so this man was like, no, I'm not going to do that. You just have to work a little bit harder. She said the way that her life is currently set up, the money that she makes from her job is like extra money because she's so well taken care of and so well provided for. She said after that, throughout the duration of their relationship, he never brought up marriage again. And I think she dodged a bullet. This is exactly what I was talking about in the last video, how I think it's really important for women to also consider finances, because a man will love you to pieces and still be thinking about, well, I don't want to split half. I don't want her name on the mortgage. I don't want her name on this. I don't want her name on that. I don't want her name on the bank account. They're still very well aware of the finances of a relationship.
I will be very honest. I will be in no relationship with a man, a marital one, where he would not be willing to put me on the mortgage. It's not going to happen. I come with enough stuff, okay, and a lovely YouTube channel, but no, that's not going to happen. To a certain extent, I think a woman has low self-esteem, is very insecure. If she's willing to stick in a relationship with a man that won't, she's married to some guy and he won't put her on the mortgage. There's something really, really wrong there. So that definitely needs to be assessed. As far as women tend to go with just the emotions of it, and men tend to go with the financials of a relationship. I guess if you want to go on the stereotypical of women think with their emotions, men think with, what is it? Women think emotionally, men think more logically. I can tell you that I tend to probably be more of a logical thinker. I am more of a logical thinker than I am an emotional thinker. So I don't think that we know nothing holds true to every, thought. It happens to, this is the way all women think or all men think. But I am one of those people. I think more logically. And I've told you before on this channel, my mother used to get slightly annoyed because she thought I should think more emotionally, whereas my mother was very emotional in her decisions. I can leave the emotion out and I can think very logically. It's probably to some extent, in all honesty, why I make a really good teacher. Cause especially teaching middle school where the kids are all, their hormones are going and all of that stuff and their emotions and everything's drama. It's one thing I love about teaching middle school. You never lack the drama at school, ever. There's always some drama going on. And someone's lost their chapstick, someone's lost their lip gloss, someone took someone else's cell phone or one of those little corks they put on their shoes. I can't think of it, but on their little, is it the Crocs that they like to wear, and they like to put those little widget type things on there, and they're kind of arguing over, you took my widget, or whatever those things are called they put on their Crocs. So there's always drama, but because I don't involve myself emotionally, with my students, it allows me to keep very level-headed and make good decisions. So women are very capable of making solid, logical decisions dealing with money and finance and relationships. But she is right, not all women do. And those types of women that are more emotional, I could see some of them going, yes, I'm all about the emotion. And you'll see that sometimes in a divorce too. You'll see that sometimes. Where some people, I've seen on some documentaries actually, where like a woman just says, you know what, whatever, I'm done, I'm out. And she walks away, gives the guy everything. And then a few years later, it's like, oh man, I can't believe I did this or I did that. So you got to stay sharp, crowd.
When it comes to women, they want to give it all up in the name of love. Sir, you wouldn't do that, so don't expect her to do that.
What's an irrational fear that you have?
Getting married to somebody, being with them for years, and then finding out that they have so much debt that you both have to figure out how to pay it, or you're going to be financially screwed forever, and then eventually growing resentful of that person. So a tip of the day, figure out your person's financial situation before you decide to be lifelong partners with them, because it is your responsibility too.
Here's the problem with that. I mean, the advice is fine about, figure out who you're going to be with and all of that. But there are no guarantees in anything. Taking on a relationship, taking on a marriage, there's a risk to it. You can marry someone at 25 years old and, you think you have vetted each other, but what are you going to be like when you're 50? Your values change, your ideologies change. Okay? It's kind of like, you could marry someone and they're a Democrat and then 30 years later they became a Republican. But it's kind of the same thing. There's no, not saying one's better than the other, okay? This is a non-political channel, by the way, okay? But I'm just saying, you can't sit there and say, well, oh my goodness, when they were 25, they were like this, and now they're not like this at 55, 60, or even, 45. This is oftentimes why divorces happen. Ideologies change. What you thought was important is no longer important. What you want is something else. Now, we're not going to debate tonight about whether or not people are working hard enough to keep their relationships or bowing out early. The bottom line is people change. And so you can sit there and you could have vetted someone, but I mean, how much is there to vet at 25, even 30 years old necessarily? So their relationships are simply a risk, and you just have to be willing to take the risk. That's all there is, if you want to take the risk. But there's no guarantee that if I sit and I ask you the right questions, and I think I've known you long enough, or I think we have enough in common, there's no guarantee that's still going to work out 30 years later. That's why it's my belief that a lot of couples stay together long past what they should, to be totally honest. But that's another story.
So you've fallen in love with a man in debt. I'm here to tell you why it's never going to work. You're going to want to help this man get on track financially and finally get out of debt. You're going to start overpaying. You're going to start paying more than you should for rent, if not the whole thing. You're going to pick up the cable bill. You're going to start paying for date nights. You're going to start paying for those dinners. You're going to start paying for those vacations, so then he could be free and then contribute as he should as a man. But here's the thing, that's not what he's going to do. And what he's going to do while you're just sitting there spending money to cover the bills that he should be paying, he's just going to keep spending irresponsibly. He's not going to use that money to get out of debt. Then what's going to end up happening over time is it's going to compound so much resentment you have for him, because here you are being thrown into a masculine role to provide for a man who couldn't financially be responsible for his own self. And you're going to see that even when you're doing that, he's still not doing the right thing, and the relationship is doomed.
In my opinion, it's not necessarily a reason to marry, to not, what is it she said don't date a broke guy. Somebody who has the characteristics that she just described, that's just the person. You can date. I genuinely believe you can date somebody, get married, and you can actually thrive in a relationship if both parties are on the same page, hold the same ideologies about money, meaning they hold the same beliefs about it. I really think there's still a chance to make it. But a guy like this that she's describing, don't we see this on the Dave Ramsey commentaries that I do, right? Especially when the woman has a lot of money and the guy doesn't have a lot. What is it she said? It throws the woman into a masculine role. It's kind of sad, especially today more than ever, where everybody needs to make an income. Very few people can afford to just be a income, party of one income, yet run a whole household and feel comfortable and confident, that's going to be a good decision long term, especially looking at job layoffs and stuff. So few people, in my opinion, today can really afford to just have one person working. Okay. But as far as, is it a masculine role? No, money should not, and unfortunately it is, money should not be looked at as a masculine or a feminine role. It's our income. We're working to make it. But unfortunately, here in the United States, I don't know about other cultures, I'm only qualified to speak about the United States, there is a, sort of a stigma. If the woman makes more, the guy makes less, and it looks as though the woman is being the masculine caretaker. But in my eyes, that's not the case. I mean, think about stay-at-home dads. Do they too not work just as hard as a stay-at-home mom if their job is to feed the kids, take care of the kids, take the kids to the doctor's appointment, to school, be there when the kids are sick? So if we think about it, if we want to say that, hey, dads should change diapers and do everything that mommies can do, and we expect a guy to do that, then what's wrong with saying, okay, you're the woman, you have the better income, you have the better job opportunity perhaps, and you go and you make more money than the guy does. It doesn't take away, in my opinion, it does nothing to take away his masculinity. It's like it does nothing to take away a woman's femininity. If the husband stays home, takes care of the kids, well, the wife goes to work. In this day and age, folks, we have to try to put aside the masculine and feminine roles when it comes to making money, and we need to think about what is logical. And if it's more logical for the woman to go to work, maybe she carries the better benefits, the higher pay, maybe she just has a less chance of being laid off. All right? If that's the more logical role, and it's more logical for the husband to take a back seat so he can focus on other areas of the household that are seen as equal to hers, okay? In other words, taking care of the kids and stuff, not sitting on the couch watching football and eating, Doritos. But he's actually doing the so-called, mommy role, whatever, okay? But he's just a stay-at-home dad. That's totally wonderful in my opinion. It's also something to think about. If you are going to go with the, this is the masculine, this is the feminine role as far as who makes more or less money, then how you can ever get yourself out of budget because you're too busy worried about, oh my goodness, I'm the woman, I'm making more money. And what was it we saw a Dave Ramsey show? And I don't want to be the sugar mama, even though it makes more sense for you to go to work, even though she has more opportunity to make more money. The goal is to get yourself out of debt and to run a household. That, in my opinion, should usurp, I think that's the word, should usurp, override any role about who's the male and who's the female. It's kind of like the goal is to raise the kids, whether it's the mom staying home, the dad staying at home, they both work, hire daycare, whatever. The goal is to raise the kids and stabilize the family household. There we go.
Am I the for not giving my fiance any of the winnings to pay off her debt. I, 31, have been engaged to my current fiance, 34, for 2 years. We are not rushing into getting married. My fiance has been struggling with debt since she graduated with college. Her parents gave her a loan to help with paying some of the debt. Her biggest issue is that she loves to buy things that aren't necessary. What I didn't know was that she had 3 credit cards that she would use and they were already maxed out. She works as a registered nurse and uses most of her paycheck to pay off the debt. We decided to go on a vacation and decided to have some fun at a casino. I put in a reasonable amount and ended up winning a large jackpot. The money was enough to put towards some of the bills and mortgage. My fiance keeps begging me to use all of the money on her debt, and I told her that I had concerns about her going back into debt. She has been staying quiet and won't talk to me unless it's in regards to the money. When we got back home, we invited her parents over for dinner and she told them how much I won. Her parents were happy and relieved, and her mother asked me if I was going to use the money on her debt. I explained to them that I was going to use the money towards the bills, mortgage, and paying off some of my car loan. I do love my fiance, but I don't trust her with the money. I did deposit the money into a bank account. She did trash our entire room trying to find the money. Her family thinks that since I am going to be her husband, that all my money should be hers. I feel that because I have my concerns about her going right back into debt, that I do not trust her with this large amount of money.
Okay, I'm going to play Dave Ramsey. I hope they don't get married. All right, I hope they do not get married. And of course, that was the woman reading the Reddit. The woman in the video, it's not happening to her, but she's reading a Reddit article. And I thought she read it so beautifully that there was no need for me to read it myself. Okay. One big red flag as to why he should not marry her is the fact that she said he was saying that her family expects him to pay the debt with his winnings. What does this tell you about her financial history? How has she been raised to think about money? And if she's been raised to think about money in such a way that someone else is always going to pay off the debt, and let's just put this, let's make this really clear. I am aware that my $110,000 student loan was paid off by the taxpayers in 2022, but I'm also aware that I had taught middle school for 16 years. Okay, usually kind of a short employment line as to who wants to teach middle school, right? I've put in 16 years of middle school teaching to get that debt forgiven, and it is my dream job, and I'm still in the job in year 19. Okay, so I am acknowledging that yes, the taxpayers did pay mine, but it was not just handed to me. It's came with almost 2 decades of teaching. So the fact that if you look at her family history, and her parents seem to have their hand out very much like the daughter does, this is a big, big red flag that the belief about money and the role that money plays, the value of money between these two households is not the same. That is a very big red flag to say, not that necessarily that we should not marry each other, but we need to have maybe some serious premarital sit down and talk. But one of the concerns that I have with premarital counseling also is counseling is only as good as what the two parties make it to be. If one person just simply wants to say what the counselor wants to hear or what their other partner wants to hear, then the counseling session is quite pointless. So a lot of counseling, you know, it's something that I would look at as far as whether or not I'm going to marry this person, but I hate to say it, and this is just my opinion, even over we go to counseling together, I would look at her family history. I would use that as a bigger guide than we went to counseling together, because she'd be so desperate to get married that she'll say whatever he wants to hear, even in a counseling session. So in my opinion, at this age, the age that I'm at now in my 50s, I would look at her family history. I would see how her parents responded to the winnings. And clearly, according to this article, they had their hand out just as much. That, to me, can tell you more looking at someone's family history than anything else possibly could. They absolutely should not marry. And he says he doesn't trust her with money. Well, if he marries her, the other problem is going to be he's going to be pulling credit reports for the rest of his life because he doesn't trust her. Is that the type of relationship you want? I mean, I do agree that, you know, as our viewer, longtime viewer Parlor says, you know, you need to have the credit reports pulled. That's just healthy. That's just make sure that, we as a couple are not, we don't have, what is that, identity theft. Identity theft, a lot of it can be found in the pulling of credit reports. Identity theft, because I've had it done to me. I even carry identity theft insurance as well, okay? But if you don't trust the person, it's in my book, it's impossible to get married.
During my first marriage, I was young, dumb, and financially illiterate. And I ended up in a heap of debt, especially after we split up. Just crippling debt that I could not even make a dent in, no matter what I tried. And after a few years, I finally came to the conclusion that I just needed to claim bankruptcy. And I thought, well, this should be simple because I don't have a house in my name or a vehicle in my name that I'm trying to save. All I just have is all this debt with nothing to show for it. So I went and met with a bankruptcy lawyer and told them what was going on. And they said, oh, yes, this should be a real simple one. We can have this done in less than 6 weeks. And I thought, awesome. And they said, this is how much it's going to cost. And I looked and I said, I don't think you understand. I said, I don't have any money. And they said, well, this is how much it costs to do what you want to do. And I said, well, I'm going to have to get back to you then. So it took me about 8 months, but I finally got it. Hell, I had to save up to be broke.
I will tell you that.
I want to talk about the finances because you got.
I will tell you that when I filed bankruptcy, because I've had 2 bankruptcies, one in my 20s and one in my 30s. First one was credit card for about $25,000. The second one in my 30s was for a car that I purchased for, and that bankruptcy was only about 16. My bankruptcies, in the term bankruptcies, were actually small. But when you're bankrupt, right? But there is, the sad part is when you're so upside down on your debt, coming up with the money for the bankruptcy attorney, honestly, that's easy. It really is. Because you may be, under paying thousands of dollars in debt every single month, and you finally decide you're going to go bankrupt. But then you need to pay the attorney, but yet in a weird way, okay, oddly satisfying way, you know what, it's less painful. I can tell you through my 2 bankruptcies, all the things that they tell you to do, like, try to work with the creditor. Oh, that's such a bunch of baloney. Creditors don't work with you. Very, very few and far between. And I genuinely believe bankruptcy number 2, which was the car, I genuinely believe the car could have been saved. The debt was $16,000. But on the other hand, I'd also gone through 2 job layoffs in a row, so maybe the car couldn't have been saved. But there is a possibility that if they had been willing to work with me, they could have. And you may ask yourself, well, why don't they work to save the vehicles and stuff? Because, folks, all they're going to do with that car is take it and resell that car and not only get the money that you paid for in the car, they're going to get new, fresh money on the car. So understanding this, there really is an incentive for them to work with you on your car payment. It's just like with your house. They're just going to take your house, foreclose on, and then sell it to somebody else. It's kind of like the money just keeps recycling itself over and over again.
Guys kind of talked about it. What about your partner having a huge amount of debt and you ultimately inheriting it? And you're into a relationship now. It's time to talk about the finances. You're in love, but you find out your partner is $150,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Are you pursuing this relationship, or are we like, might need to pull back early?
No. Her debt is, so I could be with her, but her debt is her debt. And
but if you were to ever marry her, it would be your debt too.
We don't get married to her debt is no longer.
Right. And let me tell you,
that goes against everything Dave Ramsey would say, especially if she has, like, we've listened to some Dave Ramsey episodes. She's got $300,000. He's got nothing. She has $300,000 in debt. He has nothing. And Dave will say, well, you need to get married immediately. All right, take her down to the courthouse, get married, hold her hand, and you're going to plan this walk together.
I know a guy who literally was with a woman, and they didn't get married for like 7 years until she rectified the debt.
When people say that if I marry someone and they've got all this debt, all right, this is just something to look out for, okay? It's like saying you marry someone who has kids to raise, okay? And they say, oh, but I can deal with the debt all on my own, just like, I can deal with the kids all on my own. No, once you become married, guys, it is joint. It is a joint bill. You don't go out and eat with the kids and go, well, now you're going to pay for the kids, and I'll pay for your meal and my meal, but I'm not going to pay for the kids' meal. It's the same thing with the debt. Well, okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to work off your debt. And all your money's going to go towards your debt. Where do you think your money's going to go as he's paying off the debt? You see? So you have to be in agreement that the debt is joint. Okay? Now, maybe in an ideal world, like if I'm in love with somebody, I am happy to pay the household bills and stuff so that he could work to get his debt cleared. Okay? If I were married. No, I would not do it under the guise of just boyfriend, girlfriend. No, but if we're married, okay, that's different. But you can't marry someone with debt and then treat it just like kids and go, well, those are his kids, so my money's never going to go towards it. That's just not logical, folks. Nor is it right.
During a time that we have all the knowledge in the world. But trust me, the reasons why we choose the wrong partners are very easy to explain. The problem is that you don't really know yourself. When you describe your future husband, you want him to be fun to be with, good looking, kind, and he needs to have a decent job.
Haven't we all been there? That's what we tend to look for in our 20s. Okay, and the reason we tend to look for that is because we haven't yet built up our ideology. We really don't know what we want yet. And why do we not know? Because we don't even know ourselves yet.
But this could be anybody. In order for you to make a more specific list with requirements, you have to start digging deep into yourself to understand what kind of man would actually fit you and make you content.
And you're not going to know that possibly, this happens, for 1 or 2 marriages. Yes, it really does happen. And the older I've gotten, I've come to believe that it's not necessarily anyone's fault. Not all the time, but sometimes. Okay? You just don't know. I mean, like I said earlier, relationships are a risk. There's no guarantee. I mean, if somebody had told me, Carrie, when you're in your 50s, you're going to have a YouTube channel and you're going to wear rabbit ears, I'd have looked at you like you are absolutely crazy. Look at where I am today. I mean, you just don't know. You don't know how your personality is going to shapeshift along the way. And in a perfect and ideal world, we're going to shapeshift and all of that stuff with the same person we met when we were 20 years old, and it's going to last forever and ever and ever. There's just no guarantee.
Here's the thing. The men you meet are also stuck at the same level of self-knowledge as you are. So then you have 2 partners who show up with a bag filled with childhood traumas and whatnot, and although they have the best of intentions, they just don't know how to make marriage work.
And again, part of that is because they don't yet know themselves. Yes, I understand there is that couple. And we met when we were 12 years old over a box of color crowns in middle school. And here we are today at 87. Congratulations, all my respect. But for the rest of us...
If we would live in an ideal society, there would be something like preschool before marriage. In this preschool, both partners would fill out detailed psychological questionnaires. It's the only way to understand more about yourself and about what kind of partner you should choose. Because now you're just hoping that his good looks and him treating you right, his beautiful blue eyes and his money in the bank will get you through your marriage.
So is there a point where you...
I have come to realize as I've gotten older, okay, I think most of us as we get older, to me it's really about ideology. It's what do you believe in, terms of money and other things. That's really even what are your roles on, men versus women. Well, how do you feel about money? The things that I look for today, which I guess shows some maturity, it has very little to do with your looks and whether I just think you're a nice person. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to look at more TikTok coming right up.